what we're doing today is parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so we're going to do parallel and perpendicular lines. Well, in order to do that, we need to know what parallel means. So we're talking about lines in the same plane. So parallel lines are lines that never meet. They never intersect. They also have, and this is the very, very most important thing, they have the same slope. So if their slopes are the same, then they are parallel. So you're going to want to remember that. Parallel lines have the same slope. So, look at my pictures for a second. I know you're writing, but look at my pictures. So let's say I drew these two lines.
No.
And you say, these are parallel, Mr. King, because they never intersect. Well, do you see that eventually they would? Okay, so these are not parallel. Whereas these lines, I do mean to be parallel, even if they don't look like they are parallel. I mean them to be. Okay, these are parallel lines. So these are parallel. So they will never meet. But what we want to do is determine our parallel lines based upon the equation. So if I had y equals 3x minus 4, and the line y equals 3x plus 8, what's the slope of the first line? 3. What's the slope of the second line?
3.
Therefore, without even graphing it, I know that these are parallel. How do I know that they're parallel? Because parallel lines have the same slope. Okay? Let's do another one. I'll get another example. Y equals 2/3 x plus 8. And y equals negative 2/3 x plus 8. Are those parallel?
No.
No. Why not? Well, the slope of the first line is 2/3, and the slope of the second line is negative 2/3. Are those the same?
No.
No. In fact, one's going up and one's going down. They definitely intersect. In fact, they intersect at 0,8. They intersect right at the y-axis. So that's parallel lines. Any questions about parallel lines? You get on the concept, parallel lines have, what do we know about their slopes?
They're the same.
They're the same slope. All right, so we're going to do a question based upon that. So example, here we go.
Good morning.
Hello? Yes. Bye-bye. Okay, anyways, here's our question. We have 2x plus 5y equals negative 10. And I want the equation of the line. I'll get your question in a minute. We want the equation of the line parallel to that line and through 1, negative 3. Okay? So write down that question, and as you're writing it down, let me explain. So we're given the equation of the line, and what we're going to do is we want to find another line that's parallel to it, but also, okay, goes through a certain point. And this is an important fact, to write any equation of a line, I need ultimately a slope and a point. Okay? Now in this case, I have the point, don't I? There's my point. 1, negative 3. There's my point. Well, I need the slope. Since the line is going to be parallel, what do I know about their slopes?
They're going to be the same.
Yep. I know the slopes are congruent, or they're the same. They're equal, congruent. I'm thinking geometry from the last class. They're equal. So I'm going to need to know the slope of that first line. So I'm going to take this 2x plus 5y equals negative 10, and I'm going to find the slope of this line. Well, how do I find the slope? Solve for what?
Why?
So I'm going to do subtract the 2x, and now I'm going to divide by 5. So y equals negative 2/5 x minus 2. So what's my slope?
Negative 2/5.
So my slope is negative 2/5. That means the slope of this line that I'm trying to write is negative 2/5. Now what form would I use? I have a point and a slope. I have 3 equations that I'm supposed to know for this chapter.
Y equals mx plus b?
Okay, that's slope-intercept form. Do I have a y-intercept?
No.
No. So I need point-slope form. I'm going to do y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Most line questions actually come down to that form. So y plus 3 equals negative 2/5 x minus 1. And now I'm done. That's my line. Now I could change that to slope-intercept form if I wanted by clearing my fractions and solving for y. But that line is parallel. What is it? That's negative 2/5, by the way. Negative 2/5. Okay, it's just messy. Let's do another one. I'll let you give you a moment to get that down.
Did you ever give us the definition of perpendicular?
Nope, but we're about to do that one after this example, so we'll get to that. Don't worry. Okay? Do we have that? Okay, we're going to go on. We're going to find the equation of the line parallel to y equals 4x minus 5 and through or and with y-intercept 7. Okay, now this one is actually easier than the one we just did. And it's easier because, why? You tell me, why is this one going to be easier?
You don't have to solve.
Right, we don't have to solve for y, we already have it. So what's the slope that I'm going to need?
4.
4. And now I have the y-intercept, I don't need point slope form, I can use what?
Why?
Yeah, slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b. How do I know that I can use this form? I have a slope, and I have a y-intercept. So I just put those numbers in. And this question just became really easy. 4x plus 7. Any questions on that? Should we do another one of the hard ones before I go on to perpendicular lines? No one spoke up.
So that's it?
Yeah, that was. Do you understand why we could get that one that fast?
Okay, yeah.
Let's do one more hard one. No one spoke up, but I think you actually want one. Find the line parallel to negative 3x minus 4y equals 7 and through negative 3, 9. Okay? In order to find the equation of the line parallel, I need the slope. I need the slope. So, I'm going to solve for y. So over here I'm going to solve for y, so I add 3x. Don't drop that negative. And now what do?
Divide by -4.
So y equals 3 over negative 4. X plus 7, I move that negative up. So what's my slope? M equals negative 3/4. Okay, so that's the slope that I need. I have a point and I have a slope, so which form do I use? Point slope, right? Do you see how you know which slope form to use? If I have a slope and an intercept, slope-intercept form. If I have a point and a slope, point slope formed. All right, so y minus y1 equals m, x minus x1. So y what?
9.
Minus 9 equals negative 3/4 x
Plus 3.
plus 3. If I wanted to solve this for y, if I wanted it in slope-intercept form, I'd clear by multiplying by 4. Distribute that negative 3. And then solve for y. So I'll get y equals negative 3/4 x plus 27. Okay, so that's parallel lines. Any questions? Now I'm not going to do as many examples of perpendicular lines as this because the process is very similar, but with one minor difference.
Why, whenever you got rid of the negative 4 on the negative 4y, why isn't it 7 divided by negative 4?
You're right. Thank you. Good catch there. It should have been 7 over negative 4. We don't need that y-intercept anyway, but you are correct. It should divide everything by that negative 4, not just the first thing. So thank you for catching that. All right. Any questions on this? Okay, perpendicular lines. Here's the important things for perpendicular. Perpendicular. Perpendicular means that they form right angles. So just look right here. So this time the lines intersect, but when they intersect, it's in a special way. We have a right angle. We have this thing going on right there. Now this is the important part for us. They have the slopes of perpendicular lines are, this is going to be confusing terminology, but I'll explain it. The slopes are negative reciprocals. The slopes are negative reciprocals. So first we need to know what a reciprocal is. A reciprocal of a fraction is when we flip it. So if I have 3/4, the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. I flipped the fraction. And if I had 1/2, the reciprocal of that is 2 over 1. If I had negative 5/3, the reciprocal of that is 3 over negative 5. I just flipped that fraction. Now, I would move that negative up anyway. Now, the confusing one would be if I had like a 4. Well, the 4 is typically over 1, so I flipped that, 1/4. Do you see how I got the reciprocals? I just flipped it. But here's the extra part for this. They are negative reciprocals, which means when I do the reciprocal, I'm going to change the sign. So these are negative reciprocals. If I start with 5, the negative reciprocal of that is negative 1/5. See, I flipped my fraction. And if I had negative 3/2, I started with a negative. See, I'm going to flip the fraction and change the sign. I'm going to do both those things to get the negative reciprocal. Suppose I had negative 1/3. I'm going to flip that and change the sign. These are negative reciprocals. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did with parallel lines, but when I figure out what my slope is, I'm going to flip the slope of the line I'm given and switch the sign. Any questions on how we get negative reciprocals? We flip and switch. Flip and switch sign. That's how we get negative reciprocals. Do we got that? I'll probably just do 2 examples of these type. So we're going to find the equation of the line. look at this symbol, perpendicular to 3y minus 4x equals 9, and through the point 5, negative 8. So the first thing I need to do is I need a slope. So what am I going to do with this?
Put it in, like, solve it.
Yep, solve for y. So I'm going to add that 4x, and then divide by 3, and this time I promise I'm going to get it right. So y equals 4/3 x plus 3. Now, the slope of the line parallel is 4/3, but the slope of the line, see, parallel. The slope of the line perpendicular would be what?
Negative 3/4.
Negative 3/4. I flip that and change the sign. So now I have my slope. I have my point. What form do I use?
Points.
So I do y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So I'm going to write y plus 8 equals negative 3/4 x minus 5. At this point, I actually have my answer, but if I wanted to, I could clear my fraction, and if I were told to, because sometimes you're told to get it in slope-intercept form, so I just want to make sure that we're good. Distribute that negative 3. Subtract that 32. Oh boy. That's going to be 17, I believe, plus not plus, negative 17, and then divide by 4. So y equals negative 3/4 x minus 17/4. At that point, you actually have it. Once you get it in point-slope form, you really do have it. Then getting it in slope-intercept form is just a rehash of something we've already done. Any questions on this stuff? Questions on finding the slope of the line parallel, slope of the line perpendicular? You good? All right. Then I'll say we're good. We're good.